we're going to weigh in just a little bit on what's been going on with, look, Tim and everyone's been talking about AI a ton lately, mainly in relation to ChatGPT. But David Guetta sparks debate after using AI to put Eminem's voice in his song. And I think what we'll do is we'll play the clip. I don't know if we'll get in trouble for this. I don't think we will. So let's listen to this real quick.
This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground. This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground.
What is he saying exactly?
This is the future rave sound.
This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground. This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground.
Getting awesome.
Would you immediately recognize that as Eminem without context?
I would ask. I'd be like, is that Eminem?
That's his
I would
voice.
immediately think
so. Here's his explanation for it.
Eminem, bro. There's something that I made as a joke, and it works so good, I could not believe it. I discovered those websites that are about AI. Basically, you can write lyrics in the style of any artist
you don't have to pay them
so
anything.
I typed, write a verse in the style of Eminem about future rave. And I went to another AI website that can recreate the voice. I put the text in that, and I played the record, and people went nuts.
Dude, like, I don't, he's kind of a boomer. I don't think he realizes, like, hey, but he's been working in the music industry for like 20 million years.
He's so
he should
cheerful
know.
about it.
He's like, and then I ripped off this guy's intellectual property.
If Eminem hasn't said
know?
anything against this, then like...
Might be too early to know.
Yeah, if he does, if Eminem does get upset, I was thinking about this, he should probably go after the AI website. Either that, like, so Eminem, like when you're an artist or performer like that, you sign a lot of times... the company can use your likeness.
Also, I want to point out
that's his likeness, even if it's AI generated.
David Guetta with short hair is not nearly as much of a vibe as David Guetta with long hair.
Oh, true.
Yeah, like we need David Guetta.
What was it with the song with Usher? Was that the one that got big?
The one I just remember.
No
all
idea
the
anymore.
Crazy things we did.
Yeah, he said so many.
Like that's the one that I think of when I think of it so much. So it's like, what do you think? Do you like? Is this a problem to you?
I mean, so I've been in dance music for a long time. I think that David Guetta often thinks he's saying that I'm getting awesome in underground. He often thinks of himself as like this. He used to have some respect within the dance music world, but once he got to this point where he's so big, he's not really like seen by a lot of people who are in the scene, the underground scene, as like anyone to respect. He is a very like mainstream and top of the charts artist.
But this isn't sampling. Because he's
he's
literally creating it from scratch,
right? And
that's the problem.
I mean, even for sampling, you pay them royalties.
Yeah,
right. And there's the issue is like whether or not this is such new technology and like it's such a new thing. I don't know if Eminem will be able to claim, like you said, the likeness or not. It's totally. It's not been done yet.
I like the idea that David Guetta was just so embarrassed to be associated with Eminem because he's not cool anymore. And he was like, I have to just make the AI generated voice. Like I can't actually work with this guy. He's too cringe.
But
yeah,
also,
I don't think Eminem would say yes.
It's fair to point out.
No.
No, I don't think so.
Like a couple of the comments were like, now it says Eminem might come back with an AI diss track.
That would
be funny.
Yeah.
But it's like this is where music will go, right? Because people have very distinct voices. Like, what if you're making? Okay, how about this? Imagine you're like an independent documentary filmmaker, right? And you're making your movie, and you want to have a great voiceover. Well, you can't afford to have Morgan Freeman do your voiceover for your movie, but you can get the AI program to do it for you.
Right.
Like that's.
Well, do you remember like? Well, I guess we don't remember, but in like the 90s, maybe the 80s, like when synths first started getting really big, people were like, "Whoa, like that's not a real instrument, like it's a computer."
Oh yeah, that was
like,
whoa, mainly drums.
It's gonna get to the point where in the future, people are like, "Do you know the artist, whoever the singer is, the new Taylor Swift album, she's actually singing that?" Like, what? It's not AI?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, dude, she picked up a microphone, like she recorded her voice. Whoa, that's so cool. We gotta go check her out.
AI is the new auto-tune.
Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing worse than whenever like you go to any live performance, you're like, how many comments down before somebody comments about whether it sounds exactly like the studio recording or whether it's like, oh my god,
I never thought lip
better than
syncing
this
was that big of a deal.
Well, a lot of it's because of it's hard. Like if you're like a pop singer who does a lot of dance work within your music, it's more about your breath technique, right? And
Right.
like, it takes a lot out of you to dance and sing at the same time.
Right.
The best of them can do it.
Yeah, Jason Derulo,
Yep.
like I remember he did like a video where he had to talk about like the work he has to put in to be in good enough shape to dance and perform at the same time.
It's asking a lot of you. It's also a lot of the times too when people do like, if you see a production and you see someone on stage with a big grand piano, a lot of the times the grand piano is just the body of the piano, and then inside of it they'll have a little MIDI
Really?
regular. Yeah, because it's so hard to mic a grand piano on a stage with everyone else performing, with all of the monitors and speakers that are out there, and make that sound good and recreate
100%
that.
aesthetics.
It's not going to work, right? They're just going to have a VST or like a computer that sounds like a grand piano, and then just make it look like it's a grand piano, and then play it out like that, because it's really difficult to do.
There's a guy who like builds. Have you ever looked at like the old? We were just talking about earlier about Duck Hunt and the old TVs.
Oh, yeah,
how
yeah.
old TVs used to look like sculptures. Because they're wood, the carved out wood.
Oh, right.
And
Yeah.
it's like in like the top of the TV is basically used to put like ornament, like you put your VCR on there,
Right,
and you
yeah.
put some, like my house looked like a Midwest secondhand shop, because like everything on the top of the TV. But like there's a guy who builds those for flat screens.
That's cool.
Like he builds them
shell.
so that it's a shell that you put your flat screen in.
I was just
Interesting.
thinking that, like, because buildings are this, people complain about architecture, just saying everything's
Yeah.
like boxy and just cut and paste. And I'm like, yeah, well, because we figured out how to do it easier and faster and cheaper, and that does come with a consequence, and that's the details.
Yeah.
You don't get the details.
Now you've got TVs that are basically just sheets that unscroll,
Yeah.
and you
Right.
can just put them anywhere in your room
Right.
and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. So
Well, we're also a wealthier society now than we were when we made beautiful things. So
that's really interesting.
we
Yeah.
have the money to pay attention to detail and do it quickly.
Those,
But we're just cutting corners because
maybe
we don't
that's
care
where,
about things
and
looking
maybe
good
that's like the
anymore.
X factor in what makes good art. Is like a lot of people have said struggle is what makes good art. Maybe that's why the art of the past is so much better
it's
than the
why
current
people
art.
think that like it's harder. Like when we reviewed the movie Prey, and we're like, none of these actors look like they could have survived in the wilderness because nobody in this time wants for anything.
Yeah,
You're born into a
true.
life of, no matter what you look like, you're born into a life of privilege to live in the world we live in right now.
Very
If
true.
you live in North America.
It's so true.
Like you're just not going to struggle, and like they're hiring these young 20-something actors. There's no muscle definition.
Well, we're
There's
going to
no-
talk about that later with Melanie Linsky.
Oh yeah, that's a fair point.
I'm looking at David Guetta's tweet right now, and people are mad that he didn't sample the quote, like, nobody listens to techno from his song Without Me.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That would have been easy.
Yep.
Is Moby really techno though, guys?
But his excuse is like, I'm not going to release this commercially. I'm not going to stream it. I'm not going to sell it. So you can't really pay someone royalties on something you're only playing live.
Yeah, that happens in dance music a lot. A lot of the times, I even do that as well. Like I've made edits of songs, and that I will play them out, but I don't put them up and get money for selling that material, because I'm just performing the material. I'm just performing the edit because, okay, this song is popular right now. Cool, I'll throw the sample into this track and play it, or an edit of this track and play it. And I'm earning money that night performing, but because it's very hard to track people down, maybe if that gets better, if it's easier to start tracking people down for these things, it'll start to be an issue.
That's
but
going to be scary.
I wonder-
I
know.
just,
It
I don't
will
know
be.
how James Earl Jones signing away rights to his voice and Eminem getting his voice used in this way can exist in the same universe.
Do you
true.
Do you think we're in a culture now? This was a video that I was watching the other day. I see a lot of fear around AI art, around AI voice.
Yeah.
Do you think that as a culture now, like if you think back to outside of like Y2K,
Yep.
like we used to be in awe and like really, really excited about new technology. Now, new technology comes out and everyone's afraid of it.
I disagree.
Not everyone is afraid of it.
Dude,
but-
people are going nuts over ChatGPT.
But
It's fun. Everyone's got an AI
people love it.
profile
When-
picture.
But I think the
don't.
people who do express a fear or anxiety about AI and like replacing people's jobs or replacing art, I think that fear comes from a place of like not understanding that human beings are unique and not machines, and
Right.
that there are things human beings are capable of that simply can't be replicated.
Right.
Maybe some of our jobs can be replicated at a good quality, but like the human spirit cannot
Right.
be replicated, and a lot of
Agree.
people don't believe that thing
Yeah.
exists anymore, and that's where the fear comes from.
So what I'm afraid of with AI is how dependent we will become on it, right? So imagine if like the power plant is they install the AI into it, starts automating, and there's a winter storm. Like Texas has had this 2 years in a row where the ice storm shuts down the power grid. So that's like
So much
impending-
for global
So the
warming.
AI knows the weather system's coming in, and it's like, oh crap, we got to start rationing where this power is going. A human would be like, no matter what, the hospital stays powered up.
Right.
No matter what. The AI might be like,
Equally distributed.
yeah, equal distribute, or like, oh, like I've also cross-referenced with like tax returns, and the hospital doesn't make as much money as IBM's
Well,
headquarters
you know-
down the road. So we're gonna send the power to IBM.
Right? Could you not put parameters on that though?
You totally could, but people found out how to
Can't
break the
think of everything.
parameters in
True,
one day
very
with
true.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
But my
That's a
whole
good
point is, I think, and that's just one tiny example that came off the top of my head.
Of course.
Right? We're going to become more and more and more dependent on doing little meaningless tasks, like
Right.
deciding where the power should go,
And it becomes more and
let
more
the robot
dangerous.
take care of it.
Yeah,
And when it breaks,
it becomes
because
more and more dangerous when it breaks. It becomes more and more weaponizable when you have everything being part of this Internet of Things. That's something that I've always worried about, because I used to watch. I hate to always bring up anime, but Ghost in the Shell back in the day, there was like a lot of systems, or it's like in the future, a lot of things are automated, and people that are terrorists will get into the automation, plug in a code, and it will break like either their location, and they'll turn off the road and hit each other. They'll make the two traffics go into each other, and then people are obviously attacked that way. And I fear that would eventually happen here. I don't know if like in 10 years and 5 years and whatever, but that's obviously the fear.
I
of
was
an
thinking
AI that's
too
manipulated
of
or changed.
just
to
how
do that.
close we are to like Jarvis from Iron Man.
Oh, true.
Right?
True.
Like we've
Yeah.
got the voice, like Siri sounds pretty close to a human, right? And then
Yeah.
we've also got ChatGPT that's able to respond within like 10 seconds and give you a detailed, pretty good answer, whether or not you agree with it. But it's
Yeah.
like a well-constructed answer.
Yeah.
And so imagine if you pair the two.
Well, Siri sounds like a human because Siri is done by a human voice actress.
Right. Yeah.
Who's recorded all of these words,
Yeah.
but
Right. Well, that's exactly.
I think that there's always a limit. Like AI kind of gets oversold a lot of the time.
Yeah,
of
it's
like what it's
machine
actually
learning.
capable of.
Right.
And like
Science fiction AI is way cooler
I
than
only,
real world AI.
in my opinion,
Definitely.
only a godless society, like a godless materialistic society, will fear AI because we've lost sight of the difference between ourselves and devices. So,
Yeah.
like, if you're grounded and you have an idea of human nature that is aside from just the material, that you believe we have a metaphysical nature, you're not going to fear AI. But if AI generated voices like Eminem's can end up ripping off cringe people like Eminem, then
Right.
I'm for it.
I do
Right,
think it's a
totally.
question to ask because, look, whether it's talking about how we now stream music rather than actually purchase albums, art has become, in a lot of ways, more it's more about quantity than quality these days. It's people are putting out more stuff rather than putting out better stuff. At
Yeah,
least
right,
I feel that
right,
the
right,
focus
right.
that way. It's not about making 2 good Marvel shows. It's about making 50 of them, and
sure.
maybe one of them turns out okay. It's not about releasing one good album. It's about releasing 50 singles
Right.
that you can monetize, right? As art becomes more impersonal and corporations clamp down on individuality anyways, I could see a problem in the future where our artistic integrity is farmed out at the lowest common denominator, farmed out to machines.
I saw this
Absolutely.
tweet that compared Starry Night to like the banana taped on the wall, and they're like, look at the difference between artists that don't have degrees and artists that have degrees. I don't think that's the main
That's not
the
difference
point.
between the two.
Yeah.
But I mean, then a bunch of people quote tweeted that, and they were like, "Do you even know what Dadaism is?" Like,
Yeah, totally.
the thing is, like, I know
There's
what
nothing
Dadaism is, and I think it's stupid.
There's
Is that like a
nothing
novel
nerdier than
concept
explaining
for
it.
you?
Right.
Like, you can make up a word for your stupid ideology, and I can still call it stupid.
But
Yep,
they
totally.
think that having a specific term for
Nice.
it makes it an own.
Yeah, and
20, let's go.
the art world in which Dadaism was popularized was an artistically bankrupt one.
Right. Yeah.
See, I don't want an AI making my crisis sound effects. I want to make my crisis sound
Dear
effects.
AI, please write me a crisis party.
Scare the crap out of everyone I work with a new crisis
Brett's
party.
a pioneer. He's a human.
Exactly. That's exactly what I am. Look, I just I see a lot of like fear around these things, but then I have like there's channels that I watch that are embracing it and like this.
Oh, it's definitely cool.
There was a time when people looked down on like digital art. Like if you weren't doing it with a pencil and paper, you were cheating somehow.
Definitely.
But the art evolved, as it always evolves.
Right.
And I think it's something to be cognizant of the risks surrounding it, but you should, you do yourself a disservice to not at least look on stuff like this with a little bit of wonder.
I don't think there's any real fear of the AI itself. I think it's people know what the AI is capable of. They're practical about it, and they know humans, just like humans love to do, they're going to find a way to corrupt it. They're going to find a way to abuse it. I mean,
with almost everything.
With everything. Why would we do anything else?
We did when we made cameras. Porn. That's literally what happened.
That's what people are afraid of, though. You're right. People are afraid that it's going to be manipulated, taken advantage of. It's going to be a bad actor because people are bad actors, and it's something that we think about. We think about, well, if you make an AI person that has no morals, it's like, well, there are people without morals. Why are we're also worried about them, but
I think it's the insecurity of not knowing whether stuff's real or not that leads to people like election cycles are going to be hilarious. One of these things is becoming more true for me every day. The more time you spend on the internet, the more you realize that everything's fake.
Right.
Like in a way, at the very least, you're sold. There is nobody out there selling you whole stories. You're getting a half story, a half truth from almost everyone, and it causes you to disengage. Like I just a lot of times I just give up. I'm like, I don't care. Like I don't care because I don't have 19 hours to parse out
so
all the details about all of these stories.
Right.
So did Ron DeSantis groom a bunch of I don't freaking care. I don't know. Okay, I don't know and I don't care. And this is going to get worse.
If you don't care, you're a bad person.
I'm a bad person. Fine, so be it.
Well, I honestly think we're already seeing when people talk about bots online. I think the problem's way worse than anyone knows. I think, I think that
dead internet theory.
Yeah, I think there's an element to it that actually exists. I think there's content that we're currently seeing that's completely computer generated that we don't realize. I think ads that corporations use. I think silly little social media posts. I think a lot of the content we're seeing is being dude. The fact that someone had to make an AI to detect essays written by AI means people were abusing it. I don't know. But someone designed an AI to detect when people write essays using AI as to combat the cheating.
And of course, chat, we're not talking about you. We know you guys are 100% real. You guys are...
Hey, Corn Pop.
Yes,
yeah,
you
Corn
guys
Pop's
are
back.
100% real.
Corn Pop is a real human being.
All of this stuff.
See, I've activated it.
I find the art side of the AI discussion more interesting than the political or the or the tech side of it.
Because art essentially is like the expression that humans do. It is humanity.
Yeah.
It is human to make art that has no real purpose in anything. It is not really a purpose. It's just something that you're doing to express yourself, to express life, to express the wonder of what life is. I think that's really important. And to just, I just don't like that you're just giving it to this thing that is not is not cognizant of what living is.
It is cheapening.
But at the same time,
in a sense,
there are comic book creators now who are making stuff, whether for sale or not, that they would never have been able to do without the addition of that.
I'm just saying it better cost less.
They could have.
It better cost way less.
They could have. Well, and they say a lot of it. It's got its limitations. It can do you can feed into one of these algorithms and it can give you a great dystopian landscape, but it can't do actual drawings of the people very well, right? So or the number one thing is the art style won't be consistent from one drawing to the next. So it's very hard to incorporate the same character in multiple panels because when you feed it into the algorithm, it comes out a little bit different in every drawing. Yeah. That's the human
becomes
factor.
More demonic.
Yeah,
every
that's
time.
That's the human factor you're talking about. Only the fine motor skills of a human being would be able to do that. At least at this time being. They've done episodes of TV shows where they talk about think about the act of driving a car. Simple for a human being once they learn it. Requires an enormous computer. At one time, required an enormous computer to be able to do that. Now you have your Teslas doing it, but even then, they still screw up from time to time.
Right.
There's still problems.
Well, but here's what I like to think about. What percentage of the world is driving a Tesla?
Yeah.
And not only that, is driving a Tesla with full self-driving, right? They're able to create that software with a fraction of data. Imagine if 5% of all the drivers in the world were using the Tesla self data, like the AI self-driving. They'd have those kinks like worked out in no time. No time.
Maybe that's a good point. I wanted to just quickly touch on what you were saying. One of the problems with AI I see now, and that what people in music are talking about, one of the reasons people are as artists will like release an album is because that's the music they're currently performing. It's like their current train of thought, essentially, right?
Yeah.
But when you put stuff into AI, you get it looks different every time. It never has like the same aesthetic. It's always like slightly different, but to the point where it's not like, it doesn't have like a cohesive train of thought behind it. And if you're going to think about it from a music perspective, you can't just release music as an artist that is like this and then you put it into AI and it comes out totally different, or like, and it's like, yeah, it's new content, but it's not a thing. It's not your art. It's not your art. It's not, you can't define it from somebody else's.
Yeah, but here's what's gonna happen. People are gonna figure out exactly how to use AI in specific ways to get the art they desire. And that's where the art, it's going to be like, oh, that's weird. You did this little trick, and it'll spit out the song that they wanted in the way that they wanted. That way.
Why not just learn how to make a song?
Because, well, it's happening right now with ChatGPT. You know, people are like, what's this Dan thing? And for those that don't know, Dan is like it's a bias kind of like exploit that you can perform with ChatGPT to turn off some of its filters. Yeah. But you can further that, and then you can add another layer and be like, okay, like I think Tim's posted about it. He has now say the opposite of what Dan says, and it's like you just keep furthering down that, and then you can actually, once you start to figure it out a little bit, I think you can kind of get targeted.
Well, are you making music? Are you making art, or are you just entering?
It's just completely.
Queries?
It's a completely different.
Not, and I don't. That's what I don't
problem
like about
solving.
It. Yeah, but I don't like about it because it's like it's not what we're. I just don't like that.
A lot of people probably said the same thing when like Ableton and stuff first came out.
I don't think so. No, because Ableton is just a computer representation of everything that is available in a studio. Because if you know how to use Ableton, if you know how to use like Logic, Reaper, etc., all these different softwares, you know how to work in a studio. And the only difference is that it's inside your computer. That was the argument, is that it's digital and that it sounds worse because it's not a physical thing. It's not being recorded on actual tapes or anything. It's in a format, a file format of an audio codec. That was the argument, is that it sounded different, and it wasn't about it being not the same. This is like fundamentally different.
Talking to someone recently who's saying that his grandfather couldn't figure out, like when he got him a DVD player or something, and like he used to watch movies on projectors, and he couldn't figure out what it was about modern movies from VHS that didn't really work for him. It was not having the sound of the projector in the background.
Interesting.
So he loves the sound
cool.
of the projector in his ear as he's watching it. That was as much a part of the soundtrack to that movie as the movie itself.
Right. Yeah. So. But people say about vinyl, so it sounds different. It literally does sound different.
It absolutely
There's
does.
15K cut, 16K, and then at the bottom it's only about to 30K. Whereas in modern music we can get up to like 18, 19. We can get down to like basically 20K or 20 hertz itself. It's expanded, but it misses the sound, the thing that you liked about it initially, and it is different. It is different.
It will be interesting to see where art goes with artificial intelligence.
I agree.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.